utilizing Naviance for college and career planning purposes. I actually shared out with the 8th grade families earlier this evening a letter detailing the work that the counselors would be doing with them in the coming weeks, utilizing Naviance to help them use what's called the Learning Styles Inventory, which helps students to identify what strategies can best support them in their academic studies. And then in their meetings with their counselor, they'll discuss how they can apply that information to their planning. So for those parents that would be interested in learning a little bit more about how Naviance will be used, our 8th, 9th, and by our 8th, 9th, and 10th graders this spring, that event will be for you. In addition, primarily for our 9th and 10th grade families, but those 8th grade families who'd like to get a little quick sneak peek behind the curtain are welcome as well. March 22nd at 7 p.m. in the auditorium and virtually is going to be our early college planning night. And again, that will be the supplement to this evening to provide the full picture to our students, giving them a look at both the pathways beyond college as well as the pathways for them to get into college if that's what they'd like to pursue. So both of those pieces will work together to give you a full look at the post-secondary planning process. And then finally, those of you who might be interested in military service, I don't believe we're going to cover that information tonight. And we don't have a specific night dedicated to it, but those of you who are interested in that as a post-secondary pathway, please meet with your counselor and we'll make sure to connect you with the recruiting officer for any of the branch or branches that are of interest to you. Hey, Dr. Mazza. We're also joined this evening by Dr. Lynn Mazza, our Director of PPS, as well as Ms. Lauren Silverstein, who is here with us virtually. And without further ado, I know everyone is here to listen to our speakers, so I'd like to invite Ms. Vicki Sylvain, the training facilitator from Nassau Community College's Office of Workforce Readiness, and she'll share a presentation with us. Hi, Ms. Sylvain, how are you? Okay. Okay. No problem. So what I'll do, folks, is we're still working on that technical glitch with Ms. Sylvain's presentation. I'll be working on that behind the scenes in just a minute, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Sylvain, who will begin her presentation. So Ms. Sylvain, if you want to go right here, and then what I can do is I can work on getting that over, okay, and then I'll share it in.
Right. And I'll see it here.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is exciting. Our students are planning their next steps, which is different from what we've had before in regards to being able to have the conversation about what do we do after high school. You know, it's that we have a schedule. They wake up at a certain time, they go to school, they have breakfast, they have lunch, they have teachers, and everyone is just following them up. However, once they graduate, it's like, bye-bye. enjoy life. You know, then as now what we call it adulting. And basically the basic decisions that have to be made, but the preparation that's needed to get to that. You know, are they getting the preparation that they need? And that's what we want to make sure that we're supporting them in that journey to ensure that it's not as shaky. Oftentimes when we went through that journey ourselves, we had kind of learned along the way, unless we had, you know, individuals in our families or in our schools within our systems kind of whispering, you know, which way to go, turn left, turn right. However, we want to be able to be more of a loud, like a megaphone, like this is what you do, you know, to help support them on this journey. So we know that as far as when adults are with young people, they have this uncomfortable question. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And it's just a case of, I'm 5. Many of times that'll be a time when I want to be a lawyer, a nurse, a doctor, and a model all at the same time, right? until we grow up and it's like, well, the books for the lawyers are so big, and to be a doctor is how many years? So we oftentimes change our minds, and it's a case of what do we need to do in order for us to get to our next steps. And the thing is a case of how do we help them answer that question? So we have, as far as the it is a case of what do you want to do when you grow up? But a question that we can ask is more, what problem do you want to help solve? You know, what's going on that you see that really kind of grinds your gears, and you want to have a hand in making it better. And having them think about it in that way just kind of opens it up to say, what can I do? I know I can't fix it. However, I can contribute to it to make it go a little bit, you know, to put my stamp on it to make it a little bit better. And having them think about it in that way can be a little bit more introspective, and also to see what they're real passionate, what they really care about. And then have them understand that whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever skills you bring to the table can help achieve or attend to that need. Um, as far as life after high school, we know that, there are a lot of we don't know. There are a lot of uncertainties. Certainly this past 2 years, anyone who had to make a decision at that point, it was like, what do I do? Things are a little bit different. Also, what opportunities that were available then, there are a lot more opportunities now because of what transpired. So like a lot of times things happen and it's kind of pivots us, but with those pivots, we're able to make decisions and say, what else can I do? So we talked about the questions that we can ask our youth in regards to what is it that you want to do? Or what do you enjoy reading about? What do you enjoy seeing? What do you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy as far as now, a lot of things are, via social media or on computers, of course, on computers. So it's a case of what would you like to do? What makes you excited? What gets you, gets you more so like, oh, I can't wait to do this because, again, it's what you enjoy. And having them, again, to take the time to be very introspective in regards to what next steps they would do. Now, as far as what are they willing to do for free? That is a tricky question because it's a case of, what do I want to, am I willing to volunteer? I don't know. But think about the things that you are willing to volunteer for. There are definitely careers in those areas that you can actually, continue doing. However, it just kind of gives you that experiential learning, that access to exactly what you would, if you really, really want to do it, which is very interesting in regards to internships and community service within their community to see if they really, really want to do that. And again, but how do we get to that? And so once they graduate from high school, they have these different options. So what are those options? And that's what we want to make sure that we cover tonight. I just want to quickly check to make sure that we're able to. Okay. If you wouldn't mind holding one moment, I would like to transfer it over and I can choose to you.
So ladies and gentlemen, just very quickly, we are transferring over a copy of that presentation, so we'll get that into the chat. So just bear with us for one moment.
Thank you. It's so funny, when we were growing up, we had AOL and we had, and we would just pray no one called while, what we're getting through. And now if it doesn't happen within 2 seconds, we're like, what's going on? What's the holdup? And of course it's saying sorry, so it's not, so we'll continue. That's fine. We'll definitely continue. So as far as we talked about the question, another thing is what lifestyle do you want to live? And having that question, and now that's sort of in a way kind of working backwards, like having in mind the lifestyle that they want to live, and now what do I need to do to get to that lifestyle is another way of having to have that conversation. Now these questions that I'm asking, it's more so, yes, of course they're going through it, they're talking about it in school, but having that supplemental conversation at home is helpful because now it's a case of you're having the conversation as a family. And now it's different perspectives. And oftentimes as parents, a lot of times these opportunities were not available to us when we were growing up. However, when you sit down and really think about what they're saying and the questions they're asking, they're so in depth. And it's like thinking that, we still see them as our little babies, but yet their comments and their perspectives on things are a lot more advanced than we can even imagine. So having those conversations with them really helps to kind of really see where they are in mind and see what would be the best option for them. Now, as far as the different options, we talk about vocational schooling, we talk about technical trade schools, we talk about college, we talk about military, as Mr. O'Brien mentioned earlier. We also talk about apprenticeship programs. And oftentimes they're like, well, that was a thing of the past, but things are still building every day. Things are still construction. There's also different aspects of looking at different things as far as where it can go in regards to like engineering. And oftentimes having access to those apprenticeship programs now, because oftentimes our youth may not be aware, may not be sure what they want to go into. However, when they start into a trade or to a vocation, it kind of opens their mind to think, oh, then I can go to school because now I know what I'm going to school for, you know? And that is also very, very important because it's the case of if they're not sure what they're going to school for, then it's like, is the heart going to be in it? That early 7 a.m. class, is it really that important? you know? But however, if I know what it's being attached to, what I'm going to be doing later, it'll be much more, it's a lot more focused in regards to what their attention is. So even if the mindset might not be for college right now, you never know. Once they have access to and they know what the purpose behind it is, it can be more intentional in regards to what they're learning. As far as the apprenticeship programs, we have plumbing, we have electrician, we have carpentry, linemen. Those are all different apprenticeship programs. And throughout Long Island, there are so many organizations that are aimed at exposing our youth to the different options that are available. There used to be a good old boy system, right? Grandfather, son, then grandchild. It's like it's within the family. When you're 17, you get into it. You put in your 20, 30 years, and that's it. And oftentimes there have been people. It wasn't accessible to everyone, right? However, now because of going into schools, right? It's a case of they're trying to see how they can best support and ensure that everyone does have access to that information, because again, the benefits are great, in regards to not only as far as the monetary benefits, there's also the loans are not as much because you were learning as you went, and so those six-figure loans are not there, but however, the six-figure income can be, the high, five income is possible. Oh, we're possibly in, Sean. We're possibly. So O'Brien.
O'Brien S.
At EWS.
D mail.
We're getting there. And talking about as far as the computer is in regards to the opportunities there as well as far as coding. Again, if college is not on the mind yet, there are training programs that they can Google, or there's a lot of internship programs that they can actually learn as they go, and again have profitable salaries to accompany what they're learning there. Now, as far as the options we talk about in regards to post after high school, we have the 2-year college, right? Which would be your community college. Then you have your 4-year college or university. Then you also have the 2-year that have pipeline programs. So when I mean pipeline programs, is that they're connected to a 4-year college or to companies that basically, you start your 2 years and you kind of segues into a 4-year journey. So one of the things I'm here with Nassau. It only makes sense for me to talk about Nassau, right? What Nassau offers. So one of the things, of course, it is a 2-year college. It's community based, and oftentimes I'm like, well, I don't want to go there because it's like grade 13. Well, I mean, as far as cost-wise, it's very effective. It's very effective because again, the same 2 years for the first 2 years, just taking the same classes that you would take on the 4-year level. And especially if they're not sure exactly what they want to do, what your student wants to do. And also, as far as they have liberal arts programs, this kind of gives you a gamut of many different aspects. And now you would just need to concentrate in an area that you basically would be interested in. And then you can now transfer into a 4-year college to continue towards your bachelor's degree. Now, back to Nassau. So Nassau does have, as far as it has a nursing program, which is very popular. And of course, with what's transpiring, it's a case of we're back to a need for nurses. So again, Nassau is a 2-year college. However, it is linked with Empire College. So you start your 2 years there, and you still, because you still now segue into your 4-year, and you complete the remaining 2 years at a 4-year college, right? So this is helpful because before the ASN, meaning the Associates of Nursing, was acceptable, but now it's more so you need to be more marketable. So being more marketable would bring you to your BSN or your, and then from there you have your NP, but again, that would be at the higher level, at the higher university or colleges that you choose to do. But again, it's like you have your foot wet in the game to see, do I really want to do this? And I'm a strong believer, and I guess, and I believe that this is what really kind of delved my passion into workforce development, because I'm a true believer in experiential learning. Some degrees, some careers may seem sexy, right? They seem cool, but it isn't until you get into it and be like, I'm not sure if I really, really like it. And basically, that's really what the experiential learning and also programs like workforce development does. So it's a case that is really now exposes you to what's, the various things that you can talk about in regards to what you want to do in your next step, right? So as far as the let's see, if you can, let's see what time. How are we with time? We're okay with time? Okay. If you can, as far as to move up a little bit, to move back in regards to the question, I would say here, right? If you can click here, I believe it should go to a video, but I don't know if it's going to. I know I was trying to get a little fancy there, going to video, but I'm sorry.
I think we have it.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll get the volume in here, though. You might have to turn that knob up and
Mute myself.
you may. Let's see. Yes, so.
Okay. Okay. It's okay.
There's an ad.
Okay. So as far as the we talked about the 2-year college, and as far as the options are concerned, we also, and you mentioned about military. It is another option as well. It's okay, Ms. O'Brien. We'll do fancy next time. I just wanted to, as far as to show in regards to the options we talk about as far as the military, because again, the military also covers and support in payment and support as far as paying for your education later on, and also while you're in, you can definitely adjust. So am I able to adjust on this end here?
You won't be, but that video did load if you'd like me to play it.
Okay. But I don't know if they'll be able to see it.
I'm gonna.
As in the meantime, for our families that are online, and even those who are here too, if you have any questions or anything that you really want me to make sure that I cover, just so that to ensure that, again, that your needs are met. Any questions that you have in mind is addressed during our talk. Please feel free to do that.
Have to.
What do I need?
On the computer screen there. The red microphone.
High school graduation is a day everyone looks forward to. It's supposed to be the best day of your life, right? But what happens next? When I finished high school, I felt like I was dropped into an ocean full of possibilities, and it felt kind of overwhelming. Everyone was asking me about my next step. What career was I planning on? Would I be continuing my education? How would I get the money to pay for it? Where would I live? So many questions, but I didn't have any answers. Felt like I'd been cut adrift from my parents, my teachers, and even my friends. I was alone. The decision about what to do next was up to me. All of a sudden, I had to start adulting. I had to start figuring out my own path, but nothing seemed clear. How do I even know what my options are? How do I know I'm making the right decisions? I had a few vague ideas about what I might want to do next, but I had no idea how to get there. I was lost. So here I am now, trying to figure out what I should be doing with my life, and meanwhile, everyone around me seems to already have things figured out. My parents have a list of approved professions for me to pursue, none of which sound exciting to me. Some of my friends are taking a year off to go backpacking across Europe, while a few others have already landed jobs. I've even got friends who are already accepted into college. It's like everybody's already got their stuff together. Well, except for those kids. I don't even know what they're doing. Am I one of them? What if I never amount to anything? What if I don't make the right choices? What if this is as good as it gets? What if I'm stuck here forever?
What if there were an easier way to plan your path after high school? What if you had a telescope so you could see your options more clearly? What if you had a map to help you get a lay of the land? What if you had stories from people who'd gone before you to help you figure out the best route? What if you had a crew so you didn't have to navigate alone? What if there was a hidden treasure along the way that could help you pay for stuff?
Well, that would be super helpful. But it sounds too good to be true.
What if I told you this was all just a click away? If you're thinking about life after high school, visit learningclicks.ca to explore your options and discover how other students are forging their paths. Learning Clicks, helping you plan your path after high school.
Thank you. Thank you for showing that. And again, it just shows it in,
So I've got my essay written.
Oh, I'm sorry. And as far as the conversations that we can have with our families, with our youth, I know you have to go, right? It's okay. Just really quick before you go, there is a handout, and we'd share it, but I'm not sure as far as what we'll be able to do a little bit later. But it's in regards to self-awareness, which is one of the key pieces that you can go as a family. You can take a few more sheets too, as far as activities as a family. It's important to make those big decisions, is to kind of understand who you are and help them understand who they are. Because that's the question that we can kind of come to understand now as adults, But if we knew these things earlier on, it would have been awesome. So I just before you guys want to choose to have that understanding of that, and that's all. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But thank you very much. And yes, please. And I just did remind everyone to please feel free to put your questions in the chat. And Brenda, we will be going over the trade programs shortly. You can continue. You can, as far as we covered those areas. We talked about the different options now. You can continue. Thank you. And as far as we talked about the vocational and the trade programs and the courses, those are more so certifications, right? With those certification programs, this can be from 6 weeks to 2 years programs, and at the end they're getting a certification. And with that certification, they're able to they can apply for jobs. And again, if college is not on the mind right now, they may now, once they have their feet wet in the workplace and they kind of understand, okay, I see where this is going. Now they're able to now help pay for themselves and their life things, their life stuff. Those pesky every 30-day love notes that we get from the light bill and this with the car notes. At least they're working and they can pay for those things while they're going to school. And the greatest thing also, they might even be able to have jobs that help supplement and through tuition reimbursement, because now they started working in the workplace. And this is oftentimes very helpful because now again they're seeing the mechanics of how things work on the back end. Okay. As far as the apprenticeship programs, as mentioned earlier, as far as the plumbing, carpentry, linemen, like those are of the trades. Like as mentioned, that there are several organizations here on Long Island. Definitely can put you in contact with to have them speak in regards to like what is more direct pipeline that goes directly into that. And the apprenticeship programs, the way they function is more so they're learning as they're working. So oftentimes they call them journeymen. So they start off as an apprentice, but then over time, when they basically have honed in on their skills, they become journeymen, and they're earning journeyman money. And again, the salaries are very I would say very competitive. and depending on the industry. And also, and with everything, it's being strategic in which areas you go into and which companies you apply to. And that's where the research comes into play. And that's what really observing the environment to see, because I remember I had a parent like, oh my gosh, she just wants to be a chef. I'm like, do you know that there are chefs in Manhattan that are making over 6 figures, Like, and it's being strategic with it. It's like, as far as where do you want to go and setting those goals. And again, this is where having that family conversation becomes a lot more in depth, because these are questions, again, you may not have even thought about. Next. As far as we talked about military, again, the different aspects of military, and again, speaking to, they do come to different events that you may have to speak on in regards to what they may offer and how they may very well support, and how we can, again, depending on the situation that at hand, we won't go into that right now, but yes, in regards to how they can support. And next. So we talked now, as far as the degrees, we talked about the associate's degrees, which are on a two-year basis. If they are a pipeline, or that it's linked to a 4-year, then it would segue into a bachelor's degree at a college or university. Then following that would be the master's and then PhD and doctorate, depending on what area that they're wanting to. And there are so many more abbreviations and acronyms now behind people's names, because it's based on their how far ahead that they've gone into their education, basically on a college level or further, or also on a certification side. One of the things that is very helpful is, again, having to understand how certifications work. Like, oftentimes you will have your degree, however, to be able to finesse and to really grow within your field, you would need additional certifications that you can earn in college, or different programs may have it, or take different tests and exams to help you begin to advance in your career. As far as how to choose a college, again, it can be based on academic programs.
We actually do a separate evening plan.
Okay.
I think the focus on the identifying some of the different opportunities to get those apprenticeships would be helpful.
Okay, definitely. So, as far as understand. So as far as the apprenticeship programs, it really depends on which areas you want to go into. So, for instance, depending on the trade. So if someone is interested in electricians, there are union houses within Long Island, even in the city, that you can apply to and directly with them and find out what kind of apprenticeship programs that they do offer. We do have, as far as I know, the IBEW, which are the electricians, the electrical union. They're right here, and they're also in Manhattan as well. They take applications every month on the first Monday of every month, that you're able to actually sign up for that. There are lines, for them, as far as early morning, 6 o'clock. I think that they take the first 30 for that day, and then if you don't make it, then it's the next month. As far as for even here in Nassau, we have Cdl programs, so they're able to earn their Cdl certifications, with the license, so they can drive the trucks, and now we see that it's not only the big Mack trucks, it's many of the different types of CDLs that they're able to use it for the commercial license that they're able to earn. We just added it, it's a brand new program that we have, and there are a lot of scholarship programs that are available to help to earn the CDL. They also needed to, of course, you have to get the permit first, and then from there you can actually you can practice on the big rigs in the parking lot or on the street, and you can actually again earn. But as we mentioned, it's not only in the trucks. You have those who are driving for the city buses, for the county buses, those CDLs as well. Even as far as in regards to the different trades, like for the cement, they have the big trucks. All of those need to be transported. Now, how are they going to be transported? You need a specific license. Having these licenses make you very marketable, so that it puts you ahead of the game, as opposed to you coming in without them. So again, these are things that I can actually do in their in high school, so that once they graduate, they're ready and just can just take the ball rolling, as opposed to thinking about it when you're like 28, like, I guess I should do that. When you started when you're 17, 18, just kind of, again, puts you ahead of the game. As far as the, again, a lot of the linemen like, well, I'm afraid of heights, then that just might not be the one for you. That's okay. There are other ones that you can select, that you can look into and do the research. And oftentimes, again, YouTube is your best friend. Anything you want to see for yourself, I know they're like, Google, you have to read. I understand. So Google, you may have to read some articles, you may have to read some things, and it's okay. But as far as with YouTube, you can see the work that they're doing. And again, the opportunities are there. You just really have to position yourself and not be afraid to ask the questions. And if you see something like, how did that get there? And the curiosity is what really opens doors for you. As far as the additional, I think we can continue. We talked about the different programs. Oh, there was one more that I wanted to talk about, which is very popular, which we also just recently added, was a certified personal trainer, which is something that, of course, with Instagram, with all these different things that were really, again, it's being able to earn a certification, make some, work with the certification while you're going to school. If you're on campus, you can be the person that everyone goes to, so you can be that person and you have your certification and you're able to have a good paying job while you're in school or on your off times, when you're for the summer, you have that certification in hand. Others that they do offer is like EMT, which again, if someone is going for medical school, they're requiring them to go for EMT certification, because technically, and I'm a real push, I guess, not only because of one of the programs that I managed for Nassau, but you technically are the doctor on the road. They always think about, oh my gosh, thank you for this surgeon who kept me, but who kept you alive to get to this surgeon, right? As far as what they see, they're delivering babies, they're doing so many things, but they don't really get the credit, because they're like, oh, they're just an ambulance driver. It's like, no, there's so much more, because again, they have to keep you alive to get to the hospital. Now we have a hybrid program there, because there are some programs that are hybrid. So meaning that they are a certification program, but at the same time, you're earning college credit. So, like for one of the things we do have is a community health worker program, which a lot of the schools are now offering, as well as renewable energy. So they're having, again, certification component, but you're also getting, you're also having access to different, to the credit classes in engineering, or with a community health worker, they're getting as far as social welfare, social services, and social human services courses that they're taking at the school. So basically, once you complete that program, you have a certification to get a job in it. But if you choose at that time, and since I'm taking these classes on a college campus, why don't I, and I already now secured 6 credit hours, these are 6 credit hours I don't have to pay for, I can continue now my education, because again, I know what I'm going to be using it for now.
That might be great for that student who's looking to get into the workforce, and maybe they don't feel that the academic route, right, is for them right now, but after a little time getting their feet wet in the career they'd like, they now have that opportunity to pick up some applicable college courses as well. Going back to what you said before, once they see what the end game is.
Exactly. And I may, with liberal arts, it's very fuzzy, because like they oftentimes they'll, like we were mentioning earlier, they still will graduate, and it's more like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Like, it's liberal, But during that time, as far as having access to or exploring the different areas, you can kind of see where you want to kind of delve into. And you kind of see exactly what your true interests are. And again, something that you may have thought you may have wanted, but again, you might say, no, not for me. But I've seen this, and this is more in touch with who I am. And that's why, again, I mentioned earlier in regards to self-awareness, taking that time to really take stock of who you are and understand what really interests you means it puts you ahead of the game. Because now it's not an eeny, meeny, miny, mo situation. It's more intentional with who you are, and that's so important. Next. Okay, we talk about as far as even for these programs, oftentimes you do still need to pay for them, right? It's not as expensive. However, but there are scholarship programs that are available. Oftentimes, because they're not federal, so the federal funds may not be available for them, like as far as student loans. However, private loans may be accessible. But like, as I mentioned, anytime you can find scholarship money, go for it. Anytime it's it's out there. It's out there. And even the schools, don't be afraid to ask, do you have funds for this? If they don't, they don't. But at least you asked, and if not, and oftentimes I normally just share the information out, like, did you know? But not every time people will do, because there's so many people are so inundated with work, and many times they forget. But ask for those questions, because you never know. As far as grants are concerned, scholarships, we're talking about scholarships and loans. Next. This goes back to the self-awareness. I don't know if we have time for that, but I will give you. I will hand out an activity. Perhaps share it with through.
What I'll do
Right.
is, whenever these events take place, I always share the recording out the next day. With your permission, I'll happily share a copy of the handouts as well.
No, definitely. And if you can go into that, what I'll do is I'll explain the activity. So, you'll note it. Oh, sorry, I'm so used to a classroom. You will know. Sorry, I didn't mean to walk away from you. You will notice on the left-hand side is the activity sheet, right? On the activity sheet, each box has a set of words or descriptions. Now, in those descriptions, you would see which one more speaks to you as who you are. Not who you want to be, but who you truly are, right? And then for each box. Now, when you get towards the end, it'll tell you so it tells you which boxes that you should add up, right? And then once you add them up, the box with the highest numbers would correspond to the color that's on the sheet. And I just want to explain to you, because I won't be there to explain it to you when you're doing it. But it's an interesting take on understanding how you move, right? And it's for instance, it's great for communication, but again, it comes back to being aware of who you are. So for the orange is someone who's very spontaneous, very big vision, big picture. Someone who is green is very, they want numbers, they want specifics, they want details. Someone who's gold wants formality, they want organization, how is something done. And the blue person is more of a how do you feel, right? So an example would be, for instance, if we talked about, oh my gosh, there was this awesome event, right? And now this is how the orange person is sharing the information. The green person is not as excited, because they want to know, okay, it was awesome. What made it awesome? How many people were there? What was the location? You said it was a beautiful day, but what was the temperature like? So they want details. The gold person wants to know, well, so the vendors that we had that were there, did we form great relationships with them? Will they be coming back? And was the event planner on point? Did everything happen the way that we wanted it to? And the blue person was, how did everybody feel? Right? And it's hard to explain it, because unless you go through the activity, so it's weird for me to explain it. But it's just more so like it's understanding of how you accept information. So someone who is green may not be excited, and I feel that I feel offended because you're not excited as I'm excited, but we don't get excited the same way. And it's very important to know that, because that helps you to kind of understand, well, if I'm someone green, that means that I like numbers, I want order, I want this, and that means that there are certain careers that might coincide with that person who likes that, right? So someone who loves as far as, the human services, like the blue, everyone feels good. They're not going to be really too keen on the numbers. It's like, I want to know people feel good. I don't really care how many people were there. I just wanted everybody felt nice. But again, it's an interesting activity, and I hope you guys were able to take the time to really go through it, and again help to assess. And there's also another sheet. It's not on the slide, but it tells you which careers coincide. If you look at the green packet, which careers coincide with which type personalities, right? So no secret, I'm an orange person, an orange person, usually they're, public speakers and they're teachers, so, or actresses, as you can see. I'm like, so it's an interesting take on career choice or exploration. And it's not only as far as career, but just again, which job options you might be more interested in. And so that's just one of the things. Again, it's just if you take the time, it's an interesting activity. Next.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And it's just more so encourage you to dream big, right? And one of the things that, we talked about, the kids are always on social media, and sometimes it's a problem, and it is a problem sometimes. However, it also shows them the possibilities, and also like how to, but the thing is how are they supposed to get there, right? And if we want to just go to the next one. So dream big, gosh, I'm so used to walking away. So, and the next one is to dream smart, okay? So dreaming smart is, sorry about that, but the M is supposed to be, is using the smart system in setting goals. And that's with anything and everything that we're doing. And specifically when it comes to, like, as we're tweening down into either, I believe we have sophomores and juniors and seniors that are on here. It's more so, again, once you have something in mind, is working backwards to set goals to get to it, to get to the big picture. So when we're talking about doing smart, we know that we use this in the corporate side in regards to setting goals for our organizations and for our departments. But it's, again, something that we can use in regards to how we're setting goals for ourselves in life, right? So we have being specific, right? And not saying, oh, one day I want to be, I want to save money, right? And then it's like, okay, that's cool. You want to save money, but okay, what does that mean? So if I say I want to save $1,000, how is it measurable? What's measurable when I know that I have $1,000 in my hand? Then is it achievable? Yes, because I'm working, or I'm getting an allowance, and I know that I'm going to put money aside so that I can get to this $1,000. Now, is it relevant? Yes, because I want money for my senior trip, and then now is a timetable? Yes, the timing is basically by the time the senior trip comes around, which would be of May or June. I have it. I have the time. I have the money. So meaning, I use that example because it's a case of oftentimes we just say something and just hope that it happens. But if we don't set strict guidelines onto it, it's just really going to be a wish. It's like, oh, it may and it may not happen. 5 years may pass and it doesn't happen because we weren't specific with it. But the goal is to kind of keep in mind that, again, it can be in regards to, like, I want to bring my grades up from one grade level to another, to a grade number. So it's a case of setting a goal, like, that's a specific goal. I want to go from a B+ to an A in a certain class, right? Or a B to a B+. All right. Now, measurable, when that report card comes and there's a B+ on there, right? That's how it's measurable. It's achievable. Now this is where the work comes into play. We have to sit down, make a strategy. How are we going to increase our grade? Now, is it relevant? Yes, because having a B+ is going to up my GPA, which is going to make me more marketable to be able to get to where I need to get to. And the time frame at the end of the quarter. So again, if we kind of have that mindset with everything, even as far as, we have, like, if we're having to submit applications, and one of the things that we didn't talk about are deadlines. Even as far as we know, college has deadlines, but all of the other programs have deadlines as well. So if we know that that deadline is your timeline. Everything has to be done, and don't wait until the last minute. As we can see this morning, as far as this evening, if you wait until, because something's going to happen, and it's going to catch you up, and you have to feel like if you can at least do it 2 days prior to the deadline date, that would be awesome, because it leaves room for stuff to happen. And again, just keeping in mind of how we can be very specific, making sure that our goals are measurable, making sure it's achievable, making sure that it's relevant to our big dreams, our big goals, and then as far as we know that there's a time set to it. Next. And now, once you have your big dream, you have your goals, now you need your dream team. right? Your village. That comes your family. That comes as far as the guidance department, Mr. O'Brien, all of this, everyone that you can have, their teachers, and even your peers. Because oftentimes it's like, well, you can learn from each other to see, okay, what are you doing? What part of the game are you in? Or, so how can I learn from you? It's very important. And then also the community. The community is here for you. So it's a case of how can everyone kind of come together to help support you in this journey. Now, I know as far as college is what is talked about all the time. And you feel like if I don't say I'm going to go to a college and I feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do. But it's okay. It's your journey. It's yours. What can someone say? It's what you want to do, what excites you, what moves you. And that's why it's so important that you take the time out to be able to articulate that and see what your true interests are. And now how do I work backwards to get to it? And again, college may not be now, but who knows? You never know. But ultimately, at the end of the day, is that you're doing what speaks to you and what really, and who can I bring on board to help me get to what I need to get to? And that's your network, and that's your village, that's your community, that's your school, that's everyone who comes on your path to help support you on this journey. Okay, and I believe that it comes to as far as our end for questions, and just thanking you for your time. Thank you for having me here to speak. Speak on that. I know we had little glitches here and there, but it's just a case of I'm passionate about this because conversations were not always available. Oftentimes our parents, they may have had their part of their journey and they weren't really, and we're on different paths, we have different interests. Of course, they have in their mind that, what you're supposed to do, but you might have something else in mind. But again, it's just very important to have the conversations so that everyone kind of knows everything is kind of out on the table, and then we can kind of see, okay, if this is what you really want to do, let's see how we can do to help support you in this journey, because that's what we're here for. And we'll open up any questions. We'll talk about Brendan. I wish I had questions in regards to plumbing. I hope we addressed it. I will definitely forward you the information about it. His name is Michael. I can't remember his last name at this point. In regards to apprenticeships, he's very, very passionate and really trying to open doors, and how honestly apprenticeships should be in everything, and I guess this is somewhat of what we would call internships, in regards to, but the apprenticeship, because internship usually is free, it's voluntary, but apprenticeship, oftentimes they're learning while they're earning, and that's what's a lot more attractive. Because it's a case of, again, you gotta live, you gotta pay these phone bills, gotta keep, these gotta keep things going.
No, absolutely. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little bit of feedback. You might have to mute over there too, because I think I'm picking up on your. And just before we get any more questions, I did want to make sure to just thank Ms. Sylvain for her time and all the information this evening. Any information regarding apprenticeship opportunities or contacts that you could provide, I'd happily pass along to our families. There's no doubt in my mind that would be appreciated. In addition, I also want to highlight what you had shared about the importance of the students increasing their knowledge of themselves, what their strengths are, their weaknesses, who they are as a person. That is something that as a guidance department, we're utilizing Naviance for and working towards in terms of helping the students gain those understandings starting at Willits Road. Mr. Stander and Ms. Rossi worked with the sixth graders on some really great lessons, helping them to identify what some of the things they enjoy are, what some of their strengths are, as well as the concept of growth mindset and how you can take some things that maybe you're good at and use them to your benefit, and how you could take some of the things about yourself you'd like to improve or get stronger in those areas and ways that you can work towards them using some of the different assessments in Naviance. And that is rolling forward through here at Wheatley. I did just share out a letter to the 8th grade families today about the learning styles inventory that the counselors are going to be working with the 8th graders on this Friday, and how we're going to then use those results in those individual meetings with the eighth graders to help them to develop and strengthen their study skills. So that piece you shared about that knowledge of self really spoke to me, because it is something that we're embracing here as well. So thank you for everything you shared tonight. And I want to make sure to open it up to questions, but I just really wanted to thank you for all this information so far. I really greatly appreciate it. And I do see we have a question. Did we discuss which specific trade schools are available?
So as far it varies. It depends on which trade you're interested in or which vocation. There are so many schools, but a lot of them have different price points. Honestly, at this point, and there are a lot of questions you should ask or have. And I will say this, and at this point, is really have your youth ask the questions. You could be there. Not you make the phone call, mom and dad. I get a lot of questions from mom and dad. I'm like, where's the young person? Like, oh, they're not here. I'm like, well, they should be part of the conversation and knowing which, again, so that they know to be able to articulate and ask those questions on their own. But it's really a case of what's, really shopping around to see, but also asking, not necessarily the placement level, because the thing is, placement for job placement, oftentimes you'll find that they used to say, oh, 100% placement. They cannot guarantee that, right? They can guarantee teaching you, they can guarantee preparing you for an exam, but they can't guarantee you actually passing it. But they also can't guarantee you passing the interview process either. They can prepare you as much as they can, but they can't say that this is a 100%. However, what you can ask is, what is the success rate of completion of the program, one, and two, of passing of the certification exam. Once you have those two basic questions, they're helpful to see, okay, is this a place for me? But again, it's also finding out the funding, and again, it depends on what's more comfortable for you and you as a family as far as affordability, and also being the proximity to where you are, for the student being able to get there back and forth. Because most of the times, these are technically trade programs, so there aren't campuses that are involved. It's more so a commuting situation. So all of these, there are a lot of different factors that you have to that you need to consider in regards to, but the first and foremost, who has a program that they need, and then from there we can go. We can see again whether tick all the other, check all the other boxes to see if this is the right place.
And just to jump into that a little bit, in terms of identifying which program it is your child might need, as we move into the high school years, the counselors will be working with children on, in ninth grade, the Career Cluster Finder, in 10th grade, the Career Interest Profiler, where they'll answer questions about their different interests, strengths, and kind of what motivates them, and it'll connect them with careers that match those interests. From there, if they do begin to see some of those trade programs or trades come up in their results and they're interested in learning more about it, they can work together with their guidance counselor to help research and identify different trade schools that are available to them in the area as they narrow that list down, and then begin to go through the steps that Ms. Sylvain mentioned of identifying, okay, now I know the trade I'm interested in. What are some of the steps I need to take now to further pin down which of these trade schools is the right school for me? Similar to our college process, we'll work together with the students there. So the students will be doing those career interest profilers and cluster finders in 9th and 10th grade. They should monitor their results, and oftentimes students will jump to those more well-known results, but we encourage them, look at all the options. Perhaps carpentry is something that you find in your results list that interests you that you hadn't considered before. Electrical work or plumbing. It's the opportunity is there then for those students to review those options as well.
And the opportunities as far as working are, a lot. They're plentiful. As far as, because we're continuously working on projects, especially here on Long Island. The airport is still in function. Since I was a child, it's still been working on. Also, as far as the mall, making adjustments or additions to the mall. So they're being assigned throughout all of Long Island to different projects. So that is an area that people do are a little, well, are there times when they won't be working. honestly, there may be perhaps a week or so, but then there's always again, looking for other projects for them to work on. So they, again, because now they've completed their certification, they have their licenses, so they're able to just jump onto another initiative, another project. There was one thing that I also wanted to mention. So as far as your strength is concerned, that's often very difficult for them to answer, because it's sometimes difficult for us to answer as adults. What is your strength? When we go to interviews, what is your strength? I would say ask them to ask you or ask their friends what do they feel like they're good at? Like if they were to say, like, what would you come to me for? What would you ask me for an advice about? That is helpful for them to basically see, because talking about themselves is very difficult, because then they feel like, am I being conceited? Am I being too confident? No, but you're good at it, But again, sometimes it's easier for them to get it if someone else is telling them that they're good at it. The question about the weakness, please be gentle, parents, when answering that, as far as that question. This is more so an area that you can work on would be, I think that would be, a little bit easier to kind of broach on, as opposed to saying you're weak at this. But again, just make it a fun interaction, because again, it wasn't, we didn't really learn it that way, but it can be fun. Any other questions or?
If there are no other questions, again, Ms. Sylvain, I'd really like to thank you for all your time and talent this evening. I know the families found this information helpful. I appreciate, you sharing this with us tonight. Folks, if there are any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me by email, and we'll make sure to connect you with that information. I'll be sharing out a copy of the slides for the presentation tomorrow, as well as a copy of this recording and the handouts that were here this evening. So they will be made available to you. Parents, thank you so much for coming this evening, and everybody, please have a great night.
Good night. Thank you.